Man, my take on the use of the internet, number one, social media is a conversation, not a billboard.
I like that.
Number two, do shit in the real world and display it on the internet.
That's a clip right there. Let's cut it.
You know what I mean?
Now here in the cut, we challenge our guests to finish a tub of ice cream before the end of the conversation. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. My name is Adriel Smiley, a.k.a. AdrielSmiley.com, a.k.a. Adriel Smiley Official, a.k.a. The Godfather. Now, here in the cut, we challenge our guests to finish a tub of ice cream before the end of the conversation. Today, we are joined by an NBA champion, someone who has been to many corners of the earth. Living legend, I feel comfortable saying that, 4Korners.
What is poppin'? I don't have as many AKAs of you.
Not yet.
But I am going to get started on the ice cream right away because I've been waiting for this.
Yeah, so tell us about the thing that you chose, the flavor you chose. And is this flavor that you would normally choose, or is this like you saw it there, you're like, I got to get that?
Well, one, you gave me some options from this incredible, I'm assuming incredible brand.
Yes,
we'll find out.
Big shout out to Eva's.
And from the options, I love strawberry. I love cheesecake. And I saw that it was between this and tiramisu. And I've had tiramisu recently. So I was like, let me go with this. I kind of flipped the coin too. If the coin didn't go the way I would want it, I would have flipped it again. But I'm
your own luck.
Yeah, absolutely. I write my story. But it looks amazing. I already see the cheesecake. So I'm starting from now.
Are you a sweet tooth type of guy? Because you talked about your love for cheesecake, love for tiramisu. Are you someone who has like a big sweet tooth normally?
I just realized it's going to be difficult to talk while doing this.
That's the whole point.
I've been set up. Not really. I'm definitely more of a savory guy.
Okay.
But in recent years, I've developed a sweet tooth out of nowhere. I don't know what's going on.
I'm the same way. Honestly, whenever I'm high, that's when the sweet tooth comes out the most. And it's just like, just keep me away from anything around that. I used to be a big Krispy Kreme person.
Oh, Krispy Kreme is a problem.
No, and when I lived in Toronto, I lived right across from the Krispy Kreme that was on Spadina.
Worse.
And I said, how do you expect me to wear all the same clothes?
How do you expect me to live?
Yeah.
Wait, did you know, though, that one Krispy Kreme donut is the equivalent in the calories to a Big Mac?
Don't even tell me that.
Because you've sat down and ate 6 Big Macs in a sitting and you didn't even know it.
6, 30. Like, I don't know if I've ever bought one Krispy Kreme donut.
Wow.
Like
No. Why? That's ludicrous. Why? Who does that?
A light day for me would be 4. Like, I would go in and get the box of 6 and say, if y'all want, you could grab some. But if you don't, this is definitely going to get finished.
Any person who has ever purchased one single Krispy Kreme donut, we can't be friends.
Serial killer shit.
We're psycho. Psycho.
You said this would be the name of your autobiography, The Great Finesse. I thought that is
I said that?
Those are the words out of your mouth. And
I like that.
Do you still stand by that? Would you still call your autobiography The Great Finesse?
Absolutely. You know what? Because I say all the time, I feel like I've finessed my way through life. As I'm growing, I'm gaining more perspective, and I guess it's not exactly that much of a finesse. It's just a result of the choices that I've made.
Yes.
But I like the word finesse just because I've made choices to design the life that I want.
Yes.
Just because I want it, knowing that it's not the way that we're taught that it's supposed to go. So I feel like I've always just been figuring out and coloring outside the lines.
Yeah.
And going where I want to go, doing what I want to do. No, not disrespectfully, not stepping on anybody's toes. I don't believe in stepping on people to get ahead. I just feel like the rules that have been set up, why? Why and by who? And why do we need to follow them?
100%.
We should be able to live the life that we want as long as you're walking good, not hurting anybody.
Yep.
If you're bringing joy to people's lives, that can't be wrong. If you're inspiring people to also follow their whatever it is that drives them, find their passion. Like, what's wrong with all of this stuff?
Yeah,
Nothing.
Following the fun.
Following the fun. I definitely have said that.
100%. Listen, these are all quotes that you cannot use at the end. So all these things you said before, we need something brand new for this one.
I got you.
I like what you say about following the fun and like your finesse of doing things you wanted to do, because I do think, especially in some Caribbean households, you're kind of taught that
Also Korean.
Exactly. Can't forget them, Korean and Caribbean.
Not that different.
You're kind of taught like that's not a chance. You know, it's like you doing what you want and you love is not the way it goes.
You know what? I can speak directly to that based on some conversations I've had with my parents. The reason why, at least they've told me, why they were so worried about me going into a creative field, more my mom than my dad, because my dad was actually a musician before he became a chef, which is also a creative field.
Yeah.
But it's a stable one.
Yes.
My mom was you go to school, you get a job, you'll be able to support yourself. And I understand that sentiment coming from, parents immigrating from Trinidad to Canada to expand the possibilities of life. And they were young. I'm only in recent years understanding how young my parents were when they had me and when they were moving and why they didn't have life figured out. Because they were like 20.
Yeah, adds up.
Right? But to me, they were superheroes. But like now that I'm an adult thinking about it, it's like, yo, they were like 20, 21, 22. They were still going to the club sometimes.
Right.
And like, they were still trying to like understand life, and also raise me. But they were essentially in survival mode, where their decisions were based largely on fear of the consequence of it not going well.
Yes.
So the safest road is the best road.
100%.
However, them coming and bringing me here to live and creating a different life with more possibilities, I get to reap the benefits of that. In my generation now, I can make the choice to do something that's not the safe path. Yeah. And that's scary for them, but it wasn't scary for me.
Yeah, because you didn't grow up with the idea of this is the way it has to be. Because I think about my dad. I say this to my little brother all the time. I said, my grandfather, my dad's dad, didn't know how to read. Couldn't read, couldn't write. And he talks about how smart he thought his father was, and he was one of the smartest people. He could talk to anybody. And my dad dropped out of school when he was 8 to become a tailor and then a pastor. And then I think about the education that I have. I graduated from Seneca and from Ryerson. And I think like this is kind of what you're saying of like, it goes one generation, then the next, then the next. And it's like, that's just in you when your parents make those sacrifices.
But that's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
That's what their plan was, and even moving around.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have more options.
Exactly.
So with more options, you can now expand your mind and think, well, what do I actually want to do? They didn't have the luxury of thinking about what do I actually want to do.
Not even a little bit, yeah.
Like, as I said, my dad was in a band. He was a musician. He was a guitarist. He was a wicked man, too. Like, he was touring. He was doing sessions with some really big artists that I found out after the fact that he did sessions with Parliament and George Clinton, with
big time
Rick James. Like, he was doing it. But his mom was like,
this is fun, but... Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, what are you actually going to do with your life, though? Because you need to be able to support yourself.
100%.
And he always told me, he's like, I don't regret my choice at all, but I made the choices based on the information I had at the time and what was best for me and my family.
Exactly.
So now I'm here in this situation, and I'm looking at my daughter now. I'm like, yo, you can literally do whatever you want because of the 4 fathers and mothers that have put us in position. I'm now free, which makes her even more free.
That was going to be my next question, because I see it with kids whose parents are actors, athletes. You see them follow the same path, whether it's Will and Jada and their kids, or all these NBA players who their kids are in the NBA now. And have you seen anything in your daughter that you can kind of see that freedom of choice just from having you as a father?
Definitely. She's not a musician at all, but she is definitely understands that I've made her mom and I have made it very clear. Her mom is definitely way more studious.
Yes.
For lack of a better term. But we've made it very clear to her that she can choose her own adventure and figure out what she wants to do, and we'll support her. She just has to actually put in work.
And do it.
Yeah, just do it, though.
Yeah.
Just do it, because none of this is easy, especially if you don't put your all into it.
Yep. Yep.
There's no, what I do or the things that I do, there's no school that you can go to and get a piece of paper that says you're now qualified to do this thing.
No.
And you will get a job and be successful. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
Most creative fields don't. And we just like instill that in her. And I hope she gets it.
Yeah,
I think she does.
I think she does, because I always say this, and again, I don't have kids, but it's something I truly believe is kids don't always do what you say, but they do what you do. And the example that you set from just being sometimes is
the greatest lessons that you can teach.
Exactly. So I think about that a lot, because I have an entrepreneurial spirit. I have a few businesses, and my mom has a few businesses. And she didn't specifically tell me, okay, don't work for nobody. But I think when we were younger, she used to say, why do you have that man's name across your chest? You don't know the Nike man. Why you dying to wear the Nikes?
Hey, where are your parents from?
Jamaica.
I was gonna say that sounds well Caribbean right there.
No, 100%. And
you don't know the Nike man.
You and him not friend, like.
That's awesome.
And you think about it growing up, it's like that's a part of how I move now, even though it wasn't explicitly told to me to do a certain thing.
And we still don't know the Nike man. So
not even a little bit.
She was not wrong.
Not even a little bit. Okay, let's go back. There's one thing that I saw while doing some research for this that you didn't properly answer, and I guess no one properly asked you. But you talked about your background playing instruments.
Okay.
And you would always just say playing instruments. I'm like, what are these miscellaneous instruments that you were playing?
I answered that.
But I didn't see anyone actually ask you what instruments you were playing and your background with that. So bring us to your start with playing instruments, obviously before getting into DJing.
Yeah. I started with piano.
Okay.
I played piano from ages around 7 till 12.
Okay.
Like competitively. I was in Royal Conservatory. I was doing competitions.
I was as well. I'm familiar.
Yeah. So you understand, it was fun. I remember this one thing was called Fun Fest.
Mm-hmm.
It was not fun. No. But I did it, and I loved it, but I didn't love everything. Like, I loved playing.
Yeah.
I didn't love practicing that much.
I
didn't love going to theory class that much. And I didn't love that my classes were on Saturday mornings at, I want to say it was like 10 a.m. When the good cartoons were on.
Yes.
That was painful. I'm leaving to go to, and it was like I had piano for an hour and then theory for an hour. So 10 to 11, 11 to 12, and then I come home.
By the time you come on, the cartoons are done.
Cartoons are done. My friends are all outside. I don't even know where they are anymore. It was like we didn't have cell phones.
Yeah.
To be able to make man to be like, yo, where are you guys? It was just the day was done. And I convinced my parents after a few years to let me not do it anymore because, and they were like, all right, fine, we'll allow you. You did it for 5 years.
Yeah.
You can decide if you like it still. So I did that. But I never really lost it.
Okay.
And we always had a piano in the house.
So you're still good with the keys?
I am. I'm not as good as, I'm not competition level anymore.
Yeah.
I'm not going to,
there's levels.
I'm not going to John Legend anybody on stage right now, but I'm proficient. And it's helped me with production, which is amazing.
That's what I'm saying. Okay.
The theory part too. But then, from there, and during this and in elementary school, I played the baritone. Not by choice. It was drawing out of a hat. There's only so many instruments in band. I really wanted drums. My second choice was saxophone. I did not get those. I got bottom of the barrel. Baritone thing was bigger than me. I had to carry it home. It was the worst. But
I played tuba in high school. So
see, you feel me.
Yeah, I'm with you on this. I'm walking step by step with you all the way right now.
But mind you, that's high school. I was elementary school. I was like
a wee boy,
smaller, not as strong. And carrying this thing, a baritone's not quite as big as a tuba, but
still for a
same
younger kid, yeah.
And then in high school, I was like, absolutely not. So again, I did not win the draw, but I got clarinet, which was manageable because at least I could slide that in my backpack.
Yeah.
And it was close to the saxophone.
Cousin, yeah.
Right? But in that, I played keys, I played brass, I played woodwind. I always played drums on the side. I've never formally played drums, but I've always dabbled.
Yeah.
And because my dad played guitar and bass, those were in the house, and we would jam a little bit together. He showed me like a 1-2.
Okay.
That I don't understand the fret. I have a guitar and a bass, his bass, and I bought a guitar, and I have them in my house, and I want to get good. I really, really want to be able to play guitar on stage at some point.
That'd be fire.
But I'm far from being there, so I got work to do.
We're speaking it into existence, okay? We're speaking it into existence. I see you playing guitar on stage. Because
I will. I absolutely will.
I think that guitar to me is if I could choose one instrument to play, like I'm a drummer. Drummers, like I played keys at first, and I was more into jazz than classical.
Okay.
And so classical was what we did for the actual competitions.
Right.
But I was only practicing the jazz. So when it came time to go to class, it's like...
See, I didn't have jazz as an option. I only did classical. Classical and like a 1-2 pop that they would give us. Like I remember I had the Michael Jackson Thriller book.
Okay,
that I could learn how to play Billie Jean and such. But like all the competition was always Bach and Mozart.
Yeah. And I was not into that.
I liked it.
I wanted jazz, and I think that's why I ended up quitting. And then I ended up playing the drums. Drums is probably still my instrument of choice.
Okay.
But I have a cousin from Jamaica who learned how to play guitar when he came here, and I'm always so proud of seeing him because now he plays in church, and you would never guess that he just learned.
Like how long did it take him to get?
Maybe like a year and a bit.
What?
Yeah, like he was like, and
he never picked up a guitar before.
Never. And the crazy part is because he used to jam. I play the drums, so he's like, okay, you're playing drums, let me try and jam with you. And he just picked up the guitar with confidence.
I love it.
And I said, I've never seen this before. So yeah, guitar is a thing for me that if I really could, I would want that.
Guitar is kind of cool.
Very cool.
Step to the front of the stage and shred.
Yeah.
It's like, we were talking about Prince earlier.
Yeah.
Prince is a guy.
Well, he's real. He's real.
And to be able to get up there and do, and there's, because it's such a, like you can't move around with the drums.
Yeah.
You can't really move around, unless you have a guitar.
Yeah.
You can't really move around with keys. But drums, with a guitar, you can own the stage.
And your center stage too.
Yeah.
Nah. I think guitar probably is the coolest instrument. I think you can get that same reaction on the keys. Like if John Legend was a guitar player instead of a keyboard player.
Different vibe.
Very different vibe. Like all of me
keys,
with
keys
guitars,
are good with the ladies though.
Ladies love the keys. Yeah, my little brother is learning keys, and I made sure the first song he knew how to play was D'Angelo Untitled. I said, this is where you got to start it. This is where you got to start.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah, so I thought that was very important. So let's go forward a little bit into you actually getting this job with the Raptors. You were at the Roots store getting it popping. What was DJing at the Roots store like in those days? Like what kind of songs were you playing? What was the set like? 'Cause this is early 2000s, right? So
yeah.
What was your set like? This is a different musical climate in total.
Was. And you know what? It was, first and foremost, it was great training for me. Because it was the beginning of my DJ career. I was mainly DJing in my parents' basement.
Okay.
So this was an opportunity to play in front of people. Wasn't a party.
Yeah.
And DJing in retail was not a thing yet.
No, yeah. This is early.
Like I'm the first retail store DJ that I know of. I'm not saying I'm the first ever. I don't know. But as to my knowledge, I never heard of it before.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was doing it. I was playing 5 hours a day every Saturday and Sunday. So 10 hours per weekend.
Okay.
And I looked at it as, I get to practice for 10 hours every weekend in front of people versus just at home by myself, which was more enjoyable. I can interact.
Yeah.
I started to realize, like, I'm looking at the staff and seeing what they're vibing to.
Yep.
And starting to understand how to read a crowd, not a party crowd, but still
a crowd, yeah.
People. I see people walk in. I see people walking by, and like, you can tell when somebody walks by and then they're like,
Yep.
And then they come in. I'm like, okay, sick. I'm doing something.
Okay, this works.
Yeah. And then they would tell me too that like sales are up, things are going well, and they're happy about it. So it was a really great experience. And musically, I was experimenting. I was just trying things out and understanding. It was my first time understanding, okay, well, I have to keep it clean, no swears.
Yeah.
But also, I have to try to maintain a upbeat vibe. I can't literally just play whatever I want. I have to. There are parameters,
like a tempo, yeah.
Yeah, in like what we're trying to do here, and it was really, really helpful. But I would say I was mostly playing like oldies and like R&B and reggae and soca, and like mixing it up just because that's who I am as a person.
Yeah.
But also like with a vibe in mind.
Yeah.
So it was really, really good training to understand, number one, how to curate a specific vibe, but also how to read reactions of people and further react to that. Like, oh, you're feeling that? Let me go more in that direction. Or I was going to do this, but I see this going on, so let me switch gears.
Yes.
I learned a lot of that there before I really got experience in the clubs.
Yeah, you got kind of like your early 10,000 hours.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
And then your first season with the Raps, I think everyone knows the story by now of how you got with the Raps and kind of the connections you made, getting that card from that MLSE rep. But your first season with the Raps, we were a different team back then. Okay, I know a lot of young people. Y'all only know the Kyle and DeMar era. This was a different time. So what was that first season like DJing for the team? Because of course it was basically new back then. I think it was DJ Irie who was the first.
Irie was the first one that I knew of, and also the first one that they knew of.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was something brand new. This was the Chris Bosh era.
Yep.
And things were optimistic, but we were nowhere near being a championship caliber team.
No.
We lost a lot of games, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Nicely.
Which made it even more important for my presence at that time, me and my partner at the time, because we were an added element to bring the vibes and energy up and help people have fun. So obviously when your team's losing, not that fun.
No.
But when there's things going on and it's a good show and there's ways for people to have a great time and leave having had a good experience despite the fact that the team did not win. And we had to figure that out because it had not been, we'd not done it before. They had not done anything like that before. And we essentially built the role in the fire. Like, figuring out what works, that was horrible, we'll never do that again. Oh, that was amazing, let's continue to build on that and figure it all out. And even down to where the DJ booth was located was part of that, because like started off a folding table in like the corner by the tunnel where the players come out.
Oh my days.
And it turned into the massive stadium,
Your own
festival
section now,
stage that I have now with the LED panel and all that. It was a process.
I would say that was the era where I went to the most games in my life, and I probably saw the New Jersey Nets beat the Raptors by 4 points. It felt like 100 times.
Why are you bringing up bullshit, bro?
No, it was a horrible time. Was always the win song? Let Me Clear My Throat, right? Is a winning song? Was that
Currently.
Was that the song back then, or did you have a different winning song?
No, there's been different ones over the years.
Okay,
Let Me Clear My Throat has been it for a while. Whoop, There It Is was it for a while before that.
Yeah.
Before that, honestly, I don't remember.
Okay. And I feel like there's one thing that changed with that era to this era is I think that was the beginning of people going to the games, whether we win or lose, is like a game is fun. I think now that's like a normal thing in almost all big sports of like, you don't have to be a fan, you can still go to a game and enjoy it.
Yeah.
But I think at least in Toronto, that was the start of that era of that being a thing. Did you see that? You're in the arena every night. Did you see that firsthand of like, people are enjoying themselves whether we win or lose?
Absolutely. It's because I'd been to a bunch of games before working with her. I've been going to Raptors games since I was a kid.
Yeah.
It used to be, even like when I first started, I had a gang of tickets to give away because the arena was not full. And because people were like, oh, the Raptors suck.
Yep.
And we used to have 2 for $1. They would just give me a stack of tickets at the beginning of the year and be like, yo, just give them to your friends, family, whoever you want. I couldn't give these things away.
That's crazy.
I'm like, yo, you want tickets? The question's like, who we playing?
Damn.
Because they more interested in seeing the other team than our team.
Yep.
But then we started winning, and that changed because the culture and the vibe and things really changed when the Kyle and DeMar era started. When Drake partnered with the team, and then we had the OVO branded stuff, and he was on the rise at that time too. So like it was an exciting time. And with what I was doing and the role that they were building with me, and then some other elements that they've added, really started making the entertainment the star.
Yes.
Because they realized, you know what? We're not winning. We got to do something to fill these seats.
Facts.
So we really focused on making the show. And then the team started to get better and everything started going up at the same time. But huge difference when I started to, I'd say like maybe 3-4 years in, after we had honed in on how to make this a show, it started to feel different and the seats started to get more full despite the fact that we still weren't a very good team.
Yeah, it became more worth going. Like I think about some of the guys I've been to with the group. It's like half the people with us are not basketball fans. and they're still just as...
But it's a good thing to do.
Yeah, just as juice.
And it wasn't that expensive.
Those are the days. Those were the days.
Sprite Zone and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's not a thing anymore.
I think is it next year is going to be your 20th year with the Raps? Okay,
It is.
Okay, so we're celebrating 20 years. Is there anything you have planned for the 20 years? Maybe they have a surprise for you don't know about yet, but anything you have planned particularly for 20 years? Because I think, listen, having any job for 20 years is impressive.
Putting it in perspective like that, absolutely.
Yeah.
And still liking it.
Yeah, facts. Facts.
Being happy about being there for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have some stuff planned. We're working out some stuff to make it an occasion. It's also going to be the Raptors' 30-year anniversary.
Oh, yeah, that coincides, yeah.
Yeah.
Damn, 30 years.
30 years since we've had an NBA franchise. There are grown-ass people that don't know that we didn't always have an NBA team.
Crazy. Me and my cousin talking about this yesterday. We were watching a game and talking about the commentators for the Raptors, and I said, I think people forget that when the Raptors came here, they had to explain basketball to people. Like, think about the first couple of years of the commentating. Like, if you hear those games now, you hear them explaining this is intentional foul.
So basic.
And it's like, I'm sure many teams didn't have to go through that because they either have a college team already there or they have a basketball history. Where in Toronto, our history has mainly been hockey. And yes, of course, we have college university sports, but
not on that level.
Not on that level. And so it's like, this is such a rare thing where we have a pro team explaining to their fans what the sport even is.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's crazy to see where we've come. Crazy to see where we've come.
It's a staple now. Everybody knows. Especially after winning the chip. Like, we got so many bandwagon additions. So many people that were not into basketball at all got into basketball during that 2019 run and now are still at least casual fans.
Yeah. I want to talk quickly about that run. Of course, congratulations on your championship.
Thank you.
But my favorite thing about that championship was the streets. And
we do.
And
we do.
I try and explain it because I have a friend from the UK who he became a fan like when Kawhi was here. And he was actually here for the championship. He went back.
Nice.
But he was up at whatever time watching all the games, seeing all the wins. I would try and FaceTime him, show him the streets. And something people don't understand is the streets would fill after every win.
Every day.
Like, basically, and after losses, too. And this is when I knew it was about to be game over, I think it was the Bucks series. We lost either game 1 or game 2. And we watched it at the Joey's on Yonge and Dundas over there. And we paid for our bill. We saw the Bucks, okay, pay for our bill quick. Let's get out of here. The game is not done yet. There's probably still a minute left in the game. The streets are already full. And we've lost.
Yeah.
And I said, okay.
People are still outside.
I'm like, hey, y'all are for real.
Yeah.
So talk about that because that must be such a great experience to be in the arena for some of these games and then go outside and see this madness.
It was awesome. I tell people all the time, it's like what we would do, we would enjoy the game and then we go outside till whatever hour.
Yep.
It was like Carabana 3 times a week for 2 months.
That's a good one.
And I loved it. And like the thing that I loved the most about it is it was such a unity vibe.
Yes.
It was so like peaceful and happy and upbeat. And everybody's just like vibing with each other. Zero hostility.
Yep.
And it's rare to see that many people together outside in a big city like Toronto with that kind of energy so consistently.
Yeah, for months.
Like, it was the only other experience I've had like that in my life was the Vancouver Olympics in 2010.
Yes.
That was the first time I experienced, I was like, yo, there's people from all over the world here. The streets are jammed every day.
Yep.
And everybody's so happy. And like, it felt like there was no racism.
Right? For that time, yeah.
For that time. It felt like everybody was like, we're just one. We're together. And it's a vibe. And I'm like, yo, imagine it could just be like this. Imagine it could just be like that. Like, we don't have to be in the streets like this every day. But imagine the vibe, the sentiment could be like this. So like, yo, hey, you're a human, I'm a human.
We're good.
Wicked.
Yeah. Because you're right. It was such a big unity vibe during that run. And I think that there was this, I think there was kind of almost a bigger Toronto pride than had ever been before. And
By the way, am I breaking a record right now?
Big time. big time.
I don't know if that's good or bad.
I'm like halfway through my questions, and this guy is show the camera quickly.
Boxed off.
Yeah, a menace, an absolute menace.
Psychopath.
Yeah, a big time record. Multi-talented, we'll call it. Multi-talented. But to see the unity we had in Toronto at that time, we've never seen anything like that.
No.
And then let's go to the parade, because the parade is a day that I will never ever
Where
ever
were you?
forget. I walked the whole thing. I started where it started and stayed with them.
Really?
To the whole.
Okay,
Oh yeah.
all right.
I was not playing. What were you doing?
I was DJing at City Hall.
Oh, so you were at the end.
I was at the end the whole day. I was there from morning.
So how was that? Because I think we, like the group who I was with, us following it, we didn't realize that, like, behind schedule and all the video stuff, we didn't see all those memes until afterwards. You're just jamming in the mix.
No, I was supposed to DJ for 2 hours. Like the parade was supposed to be 2 hours. They start at the CNEN Reach in 2 hours and then do the thing, and then that would be it. But I ended up spinning for like 6 hours because the buses couldn't get through the massive amounts of people.
That was crazy.
And it was like super hot. There were people overheating. I had to they asked me to stop the music a couple times because people were like jamming too hard and they were like, it was like a Michael Jackson concert, bro. They were pulling people out, throwing water in.
No, for
it
real.
was crazy.
No, it was wild. And I worked at a radio station at the time. I think I was the music director there. And I'd worked that day. But through the whole playoffs, everyone knew how big a fan I was. And it was kind of like anytime there was a game, it was like Adriel may or may not leave. It's like he's supposed to close the station, but he just may
or may not. We may need to figure out something else.
So the day of the parade, it was definitely like,
I don't know who went to work that day.
It was call-in day of the century.
Yes.
And I actually still ended up going to work. I was not crispy, not my best work. But
you made it.
Something compelled me. I was like, you know what? Let's go in.
Okay.
Let's go in. But I just love how it was just known. It was like, listen, Adriel has a good chance of not. He may not even call us. He might just not be here, and we're cool with it.
And you know where he is, and it's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything is fine.
Exactly. Now that was a huge moment. I think that's something I'll never forget because it really was Carabana on steroids in terms of the streets being filled. And I thought about this since the pandemic because, you know, that's like when you watch those videos now of the parade, it's a whole different experience.
It's surreal.
Because the pandemic has just had us, like, I think we're closer to normal now, of course, but just being that many people that close.
Yo, did you ever see the contrasting photos of the parade route during the pandemic versus during the parade day?
No, it's probably crazy.
It looks like night and day. It looks like post-apocalyptic.
I can imagine.
It's wild. But we're past it. Thankfully, we're past it.
No, it was very exciting, and my favorite thing was seeing all the kids. People bringing their strollers and their babies. I'm like, this kid is not going to remember this at all.
But you know what? They'll be able to be. You know what? My parents told me I was there.
Yeah, 100%. So no, I just love that we all had to share that moment. Like whether you know someone or not, it's like, hey, you're from Toronto.
Yeah.
Well, you remember what you were doing that day.
Yeah.
And there's very few days, just in general, where you can, like,
9/11
is one of them.
Yeah.
This is another one of them.
But it's a positive one.
Yeah. And rare do we get a positive one.
Exactly.
So I love that. I want to talk about you producing because, of course, you're really, like, putting your foot into the music game over the past 2 years. And I think you said you started with Ableton, and then Logic is your thing of choice.
Yeah.
Talk about making that switch, because I think as a producer, a lot of people have trouble making a switch to a different program because they're taught on one thing, and it's like, okay, this is how I'm taught. This is where I'm gonna stay. So talk about making that switch.
I mean, I actually started on Fruity Loops.
Oh wow, even before that, okay.
But because I got a crack version, and I just started, programming beats and trying to figure it out, trying to pull samples in and chop things up. I did like one really shitty Usher "You Remind Me" remix that I thought was awesome at the time, but I listen to now, I'm like, that bro. But you gotta go through that.
Yeah.
And then I ended up using, I found FL kind of like limiting. It's earlier version. It's much more advanced now.
Yes.
And then I linked up with a brethren of mine that was producing dance music, and he was using Ableton. So I got into some sessions with him and tried to learn while we were making some stuff. Because I played keys, I could play MIDI. I did some vocals.
Okay.
So, but he engineered everything because I didn't understand it. I'm looking at the screen trying to figure out what's going on, and like, what about this is music? Like, nothing here looks like music to me. It was like English speaking, looking at Chinese.
No, literally.
I'm like, I don't get it. It does not make sense for my brain. I don't understand what's happening. The music what we were doing sounded, it was coming out the speakers as music, but like I just didn't get it. Couldn't wrap my brain around it. And then I got put onto Logic. And then I ended up going to school at the Harris Institute, which is a music school here in Toronto. And they taught Logic.
Oh, perfect.
So I got even deeper into it there. And it's linear. As a musician, and I was told later on, musicians tend to gravitate towards Logic because of the way that the layout is.
Yeah.
The UI UX is just like, it's linear, it looks more like music.
Similar to sheet music.
Right. It made sense to my brain and I haven't looked back since. But I don't knock anybody who uses any DAW because I understand that it's just a tool.
Yes,
doesn't really matter. And the best example I ever heard of it was like, nobody ever has been in a club or at a concert or anything and said, this sounds like it was made in Ableton. Like, we don't know.
Facts.
You know what I mean?
Facts.
Most people don't even know what the hell these things are. So, like, doesn't matter. I just like Logic because of how it works. I have a good workflow with it.
Yeah.
But I'm still open to new things all the time.
You said there's some songs you took down. You mentioned one of your mashups. Of the songs you took down, have any of them made their way into getting back up after you re-listened? Oh,
absolutely not. No, there's only 2 songs that I took down. The Usher thing was just like some early thing that I made. I might have put it on SoundCloud, but I just had it for like my DJ sets and I was trying to figure out how to do stuff. The 2 songs that I took down, one was, they were both electronic. One was kind of like trap electronic. The other one was like a straight EDM type record. The second one was not bad.
Okay.
I made them both around the same time and I just decided, you know what, I'm going to wipe the slate clean because I'm working on some stuff now that I feel much better about and I want to come out with this new stuff and like just leave that behind. That was learning curve times.
Yeah.
But more specifically, the first song, it was a song called, I even say, I don't care. If you find it, it's probably on the internet somewhere. Definitely on the internet somewhere. It was called Told Me Shake It. And it was mad misogynistic.
Sounds like
it.
I
had like a little 8-bar rap verse in it.
Oh my goodness.
Where I was like, I'm not mad at my delivery or like, you know what I mean? I experiment, I do stuff. I still do vocals. But what I was talking about, I realized after the fact, I was making, even sonically, I was making music the way I thought I was supposed to make music to what I thought people would want to hear. I wasn't making music from my
your
being.
Heart, yeah.
I was taking information from the world and be like, yeah, that's hot. Let's do that. Let's do what they're doing.
I'm screaming.
And that's the real reason I took it down. It's like, I don't want that to represent me. Number one, the misogyny I don't rock with. Yeah. But number two, because it's never been me, but like I thought that's what I had to do.
Yeah.
But then the second part is, and probably the more important part, is just like, I was not making music from my soul. I was making music for other people. And that ain't it for me.
I don't want you to name names, but have you had a moment where you've connected with someone making a track and meeting them, working with them, you're like, this is so different from what I thought? Like, I've had that moment where maybe someone who has misogynistic lyrics or they're a super player and this, and they show up with a girlfriend they've had for 12 years. And that kind of, have you had any moments like that where it's like, I see you one way online, now that I've met you, it's very different?
You know what? I haven't had any specific moments that I can speak of like that, but I can definitely speak to the fact that who you see online, who you see maybe on TV, even if you go to a show and you see somebody on stage, that does not necessarily mean that that's who they are as a person. 100%. This is show business.
Yep.
This is performance. And it's the same thing, although it's presented in a different way. It is not that unlike going and watching a movie and seeing
100%
whoever your favorite actor is and then meeting them in person and they're not like the character. And you're like, wait a minute. It's like, no, because that's a show.
100%.
That is the show. And that's who they are as a person. And they, even myself, like I consider myself, I introduce myself as Kirk. I consider 4Korners an exaggerated version of Kirk.
Yeah.
So I'm still myself very much. I'm like too unapologetically myself for me to be any other kind of way.
Exactly.
But I definitely ham it up when I'm on stage because I don't walk around life jumping around, climbing shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I don't crowd surf at the grocery store. Like, that is a different version of me. So when people encounter artists or creative people and are like, as long as they're not rude, like being a bad person is a separate thing
Yeah,
altogether.
yeah.
But like not being the exact same person you expected, it's like that's on you. Why would you expect that to be who they are all the time?
Yeah, I work at TIFF as well.
Yeah.
And someone who I met last year was Viggo Mortensen. Super, super nice guy.
Dope.
And seeing him like interact with everyone, I was like, he's probably never playing this nice guy in any film.
Right?
So it's like when people are seeing him, they're thinking of like all the other stuff he plays, and seeing how he behaves with everyone, I was kind of like, this is not who people want to see. Even though I think this person is probably cooler than the people he plays. It's like,
acting.
It's exactly what you're saying of like, what are people expecting when he comes in? Because he had a moment where he had to come to the back, of course, like we don't want to be a big stir.
Yeah.
And he's in the back talking to all the staff for like 20 minutes. I'm like, the movie's playing if you want to go watch it. And he's just chopping it up. And it's like,
I love that though.
But it's like, it's so funny because that's almost just disappointing for some people because they wanted the stoicism, you know, and it's like, this guy's actually cooler.
Yeah. You know who is exactly who you think he is that I've worked with on music? Idris Elba.
Really?
He is literally who you think he is. He's not Stringer Bell.
Yeah.
But who you think he is as far as how he carries himself, how he speaks, how he's actually a dope human, kind to people, all that, he's exactly that.
That's good to hear.
I was very, very happy to meet him and like catch that vibe.
Yeah.
That I was like, yo, he's exactly who I thought he would be, if not better.
And that's rare. So when you do meet someone like that, you're like, okay, I like this. Like,
it is rare. Big up yourself, Idris. Every time.
Big up Idris. I want you to talk briefly about this because we skipped past it. And of all the things that you've done, you being a caddy back in the day, I want to hear a little bit about
this. This is like a Nardwuar moment. When did I mention that? I mentioned it on something, I guess. But like, wow, I was a golf caddy at
12 is what you said.
Yeah, like 11, 12 years old, something like that. Okay, what's your question about it? Sorry, you just threw me.
Just tell us about it. Like, listen, we see you with the ice cream. We know you're multi-talented. But this is the talent I'm sure people didn't know that you had. So
I definitely would not consider it a talent, but I'll tell you about it. Where I grew up at Jane and Shepherd, there's a golf course right there. And when I was a youth, I was looking about how I can make some money to be able to buy the things that I want because, you know, my parents being, you know, immigrated from Trinidad to Toronto, I had everything that I needed, and I want to be very clear about that. My parents did a great job and like provided, and I had everything that I needed, but I couldn't have everything that I wanted.
Not the extras.
To get the extras. So, I wanted certain, you know, sneakers or whatever, and my parents were like, yo, if you want those, you're going to have to figure out how to pay for them yourself. We'll buy you sneakers, but not those ones.
Yes.
But I was like, but I want those ones. So, okay, cool. Boom, I got to figure out how to make some money. One of my boys had a paper route. I was like, no, I don't like that one.
Okay.
But then another one of my friends was like, yo, we can go and caddy at the place. It just like takes like an hour and a half, whatever. They give you $30. And you can do like maybe 3-4 rounds in a day.
Okay.
I was like, yo, I can make Jordan money in a day.
All right, I'm with that.
Let's go. Saturday morning. So this is like after I quit piano.
From piano to caddy. Okay,
right?
I'm following.
But I would go. I was too small to carry the bags, so they had carts. So we would pull the carts. And there was like different levels. I learned all of this when I got there. There's levels to this shit as far as like caddies. Some of them knew about golf and could like
give
tips and all that. Some of us didn't know anything. We just, for the golfers who didn't want to get a cart, they wanted to walk.
Yeah.
They don't want to pull their own bag. That you can hire a caddy. You just like, it's just a bunch of, and the way it would work, we would go there and sit in the caddy shack. And it's just like,
oh, wait till you get picked up kind of thing.
In hindsight, as I'm saying it right now, it doesn't feel good. I never thought about that until this moment. That doesn't feel that good. But yeah, they would come and just be like, you and you.
Crazy.
And my dad was so against it, and I understand why.
Now you get it.
But at the time, I was like, paper, bro.
Yeah.
I'm going to make some. Are you buying me Jordans? You said no.
Yep.
I want to get some J's. So reluctantly let me do it. I didn't do it for that long. I would say probably like half a summer.
Yeah.
Got my Jordan money and dipped, but it was interesting. It was an interesting experience.
Yeah, I think that's a fun one because I feel like the early jobs you have at that time can go in so many directions.
Oh, yeah.
So
I've had a
many
lot of
directions.
jobs, bro. One thing that I did a lot of, because my dad was a chef, wherever he worked, I worked.
Oh, so you were in kitchens,
I was in the
restaurants.
kitchen, washing pots, washing dishes, stocking the fridge, cleaning, like whatever entry-level job he could because he could just give it to me. Just be like, yo, my son's working here, and it's done.
Damn.
So I did all those things.
Have you seen The Bear? The show, The Bear?
No, I haven't.
Oh my. Okay, so you have to watch it. Basically, it's about a restaurant, but it gives the vibe of a restaurant. Like I worked in a restaurant as well, and when you watch it, it brings you back to what it's like to work in a restaurant. So everyone who's worked in a restaurant, bartenders, kitchen staff,
you really feel it.
It's almost like PTSD and nostalgia.
I was gonna say, like,
at the same time.
Yeah, I don't think I had PTSD from it because I was like a kid.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really. It was honestly, these were all jobs that were just like so I could make my own money to buy frivolous things.
Yes.
This wasn't like me supporting myself. I was still a kid.
Yeah.
Lived in my parents' home. Everything was handled.
Yep.
But I did all those things. My first job that I did that was like an actual job that I'm like, yo, I'm gonna go get this job was Canada's Wonderland.
I used to work at Canada's Wonderland too.
Did you? Where'd you work at?
Extreme Skyflyer.
I worked at Dragonfire.
Wow.
Yeah, yo.
Wow.
Why do they? I have a real question that I often ask myself. Why do they let children run these rides, like these giant apparatus that were children? Like I did not care. I can promise you, I did not care.
The craziest thing, so Extreme Skyflyer, we were like the exception to the rule. You had to be 18 to work at Extreme Skyflyer, which is like, what's the difference?
Yeah.
And we used to party crazy.
I'm telling you, yo, I remember I used to bring my my iPad and the headphones, like the regular, like over-ear headphones, press them up against the microphone that we're supposed to use to talk to people and play tune.
Oh my, yeah. They did it in my time too. It's crazy to think about it because it's like this is literally what 300 kids running this thing.
Running this massive. No, it's not a good idea.
No, it is. It's crazy. Yeah. So when I've gone back, like look at everything so differently.
Oh yeah. Because I'm looking at where's the adults?
Yeah.
Who's working this ride? Can I go on this ride right now, or do I have to come back? Because I'm not letting this 17-year-old be in charge of my safety
no.
on the behemoth.
Yep.
No.
And the managers were 22. Like
yeah.
Like it's funny because when you're a teenager, 16 to 19,
they seem so
someone who's
authoritative.
Someone who's 24 might as well be 44.
Yeah.
And looking back at it now, I said this 23-year-old ran this whole section. Like
yeah.
Insane.
It's not done well, but hey, we made it out.
No, 100% made it out. Now, you talked a bit about the label system in Canada, and I
loaded. Let's go.
Yeah, I know. I want to get into it because I obviously work with a lot of artists, talk to a lot of artists, and a lot of times asking for advice. My usual advice is, unless you have something good set up, stay independent. That's usually my advice.
Okay.
And my reason for that is, I see a lot of artists who are on labels, whether it's something bigger like Universal or a smaller label, where your album comes out and you do maybe 10,000 streams. And, because you're on a label, that 10,000 streams is basically making you
$0. Less
essentially.
than.
And so it's like, if you're going to do 10,000 streams, at least do your own 10,000 streams. And
you make $20.
Yeah. and keep your gas money. But you said something about, we're still waiting for it to see someone succeed from the Canadian label system. And that's something that I've said independently as well. So where do you stand on that now? And do you have anyone in mind who you think could be that person?
I don't think that it's a matter of who it would be, because anybody who could be that person could do it independently as well.
Fair.
It's like, will the label system here in this market, which as large a country as Canada is, it's a small market relatively as far as population.
Yes.
So that has been the barrier that holds us back. Most, if not all, label signed artists in Canada that have really blown up internationally, there's some kind of partnership label deal with a different territory that allows access to more human beings. And that can be circumvented using the internet, because independent artists like myself and many that I know, we use the internet in such a way that we're able to reach more people.
Yeah.
I think that the thing that holds it back is, and it's not the fault specifically of the label system. It's any big company. There are a lot of meetings and conversations that have to be had for decisions to be made.
It's not quick.
And that takes time.
Yeah.
And especially the way that information travels so fast now and things are changing and you throw AI into the mix and all this stuff.
Yeah.
It's like culture moves faster than traditional business.
100%.
And I think that that's the problem because the labels are not moving at the speed of culture. And it leaves us artists looking at them and looking at the alternative, which is, well, if I do it myself, I can do things faster. If I just hire the people that I need and let them know what I need done, we can do it now versus having to have a lot of meetings to decide if we're going to do it in 3 months.
And approved.
Yeah.
And,
You know what I mean? I think that's the barrier. Whereas in larger markets where there's just so much more going on, they are still reactive, but they can move quicker because they can see tangible evidence that, you know what, if we do this, we're going to get this many eyes, we're going to get this many ears, we're going to be able to make this kind of impact next week.
Yes.
Versus, well, it's difficult to gauge when we're trying to reach segmented people across this large landmass with people only along the bottom rim and this much people here, which is very heavy in Toronto. And then Montreal and then Vancouver's way over there. And and then you're trying to talk about the rest of the world and how to translate that. And I don't know, I feel like a lot of large companies have not figured out how to leverage the internet well enough and quickly enough.
Yeah, haven't figured out how to leverage it. And I think this is something that I've thought about the Toronto music industry as well, is I think that our industry almost closes in on itself because our industry is so large in terms of how I'll explain it is you might meet someone who maybe they do nails. And then you find out, they produce and they shoot people as well. So everyone is kind of in the industry in some type of way. There's a lot of people who have like a hand in it.
Right.
And I think that it's almost two parts of, in the industry, someone can be super popular. So there's people who we know as, to us, they're a big deal.
Yeah.
I've thought about when you talked about Zach Zoya in an interview, and love Zach Zoya.
Zach's amazing.
I think he's one who I think like should be a bigger artist.
Yep.
You know?
Will be.
Will be. But there's people who are not in the industry who...
Yeah, I've never heard of him.
But to us in the industry, he is almost like a bigger... And that's a lot of Toronto and Canada where to us in the industry, someone's a big deal. And I think in America, what is different especially is there's regions where you can go to like, a certain state where this rapper is the man in that state. And he can maybe go to the surrounding states, but you never heard of him.
Right.
But he can do shows.
But population, he can do shows.
Yes,
that part.
Yeah.
Like you can only do so many shows. Zach's from Montreal. You can only do so many shows in Quebec.
Yeah, and to make that like your whole brand, it's like, okay, once I've done every show in Montreal, we're going to have to
Right, but like if you live in Texas, you can live in Texas and tour Texas forever.
Yeah.
And have a fantastic career because there's just so many people.
And that's really not going to change. We're not going to
No, so for Canadian artists, you definitely still need to move around physically. But again, I think that the main roadblock with the label system is just speed and understanding.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think there's like almost still an old way of thinking.
Yeah.
Because you said this.
Well, things moved slower before because everything was different.
TV, radio,
pressing CDs,
yes.
Pressing vinyl. Like there's all that lead time that is required for the physical products.
Oh my.
We don't have that anymore. Why are we still moving like we do?
The crazy thing is I did a story on the history of Canadian hip hop, and one thing that was brought up so much in talking to all these legends was the old way that they did press. Yeah. And they're just saying it like casually because this is like really what happened. And one that I heard often was about like the in-store or the mall like meetup. And people tell me like, I met Maestro at the mall. And it's like, no one would do that now.
No.
There's almost...
I remember even Drake used to do, like Drake did HMV.
Oh yeah, I remember that. So it's like, even something like that it's like, mall still exists, but think of how crazy it would sound for someone to be like, okay, I'm coming on a Friday, I'll be at the mall on Saturday.
But you know what though? How effective would that be though? Because it's not the norm anymore. Because like YouTubers and they do like meetups and stuff, and the shit can go crazy. Like imagine
that would be live.
Imagine if Olivia Rodrigo did a mall tour.
Oh my God!
It would shut down the mall in every city, and that would be so much press. And it would be like, oh, there's motion. This artist is killing it.
That's what I think is my, I guess, issue, because I think that everything is skewed younger because of the internet. And it's like, if it didn't happen, internet, it didn't happen. And I think that that's kind of the feeling we have when I'm like, there are in-person
real
things.
world, but like my take on the use of the internet, number one, social media is a conversation, not a billboard.
I like that.
Number two, do shit in the real world and display it on the internet.
That's a clip right there. Let's cut it.
You know what I mean? Like, why are we living on the internet in such a way that we're creating things only to live on the internet? Mm-hmm. There's a whole world out there, and it's the people that you want to reach are real people.
And to me, I think that's the difference in like a bigger artist and smaller artist is the artist who you think is bigger because you like their internet presence. The artist who's doing the shows and actually outside, they have the real motion.
Yep.
You know, and I seen some clips like during the pandemic, it was rough, but there was an influencer who had 1.5 million followers. I don't know if you saw this, and she did a meet and greet, and no one showed up. And it was a huge story because she's popular on all these platforms. Mm-hmm. People knew this was coming for months. And it's like, you would think now, it's like, how is that possible? You have 1 million.
It's very possible. It can and should translate, but you have to do it right. You have to do it right. You have to be a person, not just a product. Mm-hmm. And you have to form a real connection with a conversation, not just showing stuff. That's why I mean when I say it's a conversation, not a billboard.
Yeah,
I'm online talking to you. Mm-hmm. I'm not online showing off.
Yeah.
And for you to look at me.
Exactly.
And if I'm having a direct conversation with you and I make you feel like we have some sort of relationship, as you know, as distant as it may be, now if I say, hey, I'm coming to your city, I'm going to be at this venue performing, or I'm going to be...
I want to show up.
You know what I mean? You'll be more inclined to show up. I learned this so long ago from an artist by the name of Ryan Leslie.
Yeah, big up Ryan Leslie.
I met him when he came to Toronto with Cassie to shoot the Me and You video with Director X that they never ended up using, by the way. But I got a chance to sit down with him, and he had his camcorder. This is like pre-good iPhone.
Yep.
And he was vlogging, and I asked him... Why? Because I had already watched a bunch of his vlogs. I watched some of his videos of him building beats in the studio.
Yeah, those videos
are legendary. Those are things of legend at this point.
Yeah.
And I asked him, I was like, yo, what's the reason you do this? Because nobody does this. Why do you do this? And he broke it down to me of what it is that I'm talking about now and what will live forever. He's like, yo, look, there are thousands of artists out here making music. There are new songs coming out every day. And back then it was much less than there is now.
Yeah.
But even then he was saying this, like, yo, songs come out all the time. If I can create a situation where you feel like you kind of know me, now I'm your guy, I'm your boy. When you're going to the store to buy a CD, you're gonna buy some random, or you're gonna buy your boy's thing.
Yeah.
I mean, if you like what I do, you're gonna watch enough. If you watch enough, you're gonna start to feel like you know me. Yeah. And even mid conversations, like, yo, we're just meeting today. Do you feel like you know me? And I was like, shit, I do, because I've watched so many videos that when you walked in here, I felt like,
my guy.
Haven't seen you in a minute. It's like, I've never seen your face in real life ever until now. But I felt so comfortable with him and speaking to him, and it felt like we already knew each other. That resonated with me, and that sticks with me forever. That socials, it's a window. It's a conduit. It's a conversation.
I think about it a lot with this whole rap beef going on, Kendrick, Drake, and Cole. And all these people in the comments defending Drake. I saw Metro said, why are you guys defending him? You don't even know him. And I said, but they feel like they do.
No, but they feel like they do. He's done a great job of sharing enough of himself. And he doesn't overshare.
Yeah.
If you look at his his socials, he has professional photos only.
Yep.
In his story, he'll like post a 1-2, but like he gives you enough. He didn't even do a lot of interviews.
Yeah.
But he's a master at the internet. And he gives you enough to make you feel like you know who he is as a person. You know him. A lot of people feel like they've grown up with him.
100%, yeah.
And therefore, they ride for him. And also, he planted his flag and be like, yo, Toronto and Canada, we are together. We're one.
Yes.
And that means something to people, especially from here. Like, Toronto people ride for Drake in a different way than people
anywhere else
in the world do. He's used the internet well.
No, and I think about that all the time, because that's what, you know, ties you to an artist, a celebrity even. You're like, okay, I feel like I kind of know them.
Yep.
Because I think about it when someone's either about to get canceled or they're in the news, and someone who's fan of them will say, what 4Korners meant to say was,
right?
And it's like, you don't know.
You don't know, but like you feel like you know. I'm big on that. And I was mentioning to you before, I'm actually starting a podcast that I started recording episodes already. It's going to be dropping this month in April. And it's part of that conversation. I feel like in socials with short form, I don't have enough time to have the conversation that I want to have with people that rock with me. And show more to people that maybe don't know, or maybe they know me from the Raptors, or maybe they know my music, but like don't actually know me.
You for real.
Like I'm looking at it as an opportunity to be able to share more, as well as have the conversations that I'm already having in the real world.
And put them online.
But just put them in a place where other people can see and maybe gain some insight and some inspiration and be entertained, but also so I can watch them back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like everything that I do on the internet, I always think about legacy as well. And I'm like, I want my daughter to be able to watch this. I want my daughter's kids or whoever, you know, to be able to see that. I want, when I'm no longer in this plane of existence, for all of these things to exist that is like straight from my mouth, no interpretation, no
one messed you up. You said it yourself.
I said it myself. And also, you know what I mean? You can see video, music that I've made, like things that I've created. I do all of this because I love it. I feel compelled to do it because I have things to say. And I do think about legacy. Like when I'm not here, this stuff will be here. We were speaking about Prince and Michael earlier. I listen to Prince and Michael Jackson almost every day. I think about these guys whenever I'm creating something because they're like...
Their aura's still here.
Such iconic people that I was much more of a Michael fan growing up. But I appreciate Prince so much more now that I do what I do because he was so hands-on with everything, playing every instrument, doing all these things, and the legacy is so strong.
That's something I do think about with my content because it's so popular now to be negative on the internet.
Yes, it is.
That's just the way things go. Is
clickbait.
And I have a friend who said to me, he's like, I hate when people really like something. And I said, this is why the internet is the way it is.
That is a weird sentence.
You know, and it's like if you love something too much, it kind of like makes him not want to like it. And that's something I try to...
Who hurt you, bro? Where does that come from?
Right? And that's something I think about is like, I want my content going forward to be known for being positive. Like if I don't like something, I'll say it. But I think a lot of the content people look at now, it's like you can go someone's whole page and it's like, okay, I hate this rapper. I hate this person.
Hey, man.
This person's trash. This person's trash.
I'm not into complain pages. I don't follow complain accounts.
Yeah, it's bad. And the crazy thing is, you even see it where something where you may say something negative goes way more poppin' than something you say that's nice. Like we just did our Beyonce review for her album. I gave it a 7.5. My co-host gave it an 8.5.
Okay.
If you look at our comments, you think we both gave it a 1. Because
the Beehive rides for Beyonce,
and it's that part of it where it's like they feel more compelled to share their negative comments than say, "Well, I agree with you with this," or "I agree with you with this."
Or why wouldn't they come from the position of like, "Yo, what about this? You don't like this? This is so amazing. Like, give it another listen." Nah, they're just gonna hate on you.
And it's like it almost become reactionary. Where I think we're of the age where we're before the internet, where we know there's a different style, but I think people who are growing up with the internet, it's becoming a part of their behavior where it's like, okay, if I have a reaction, negative right away.
I don't live in that world. I don't live in the world. I'm with you on the positivity, not for the sake of being positive, but like just for finding a perspective that breeds a better outcome. Yeah. Because no good comes from, and if you're going to be giving negative comments, like, okay, cool, what's the solution? Like, what are we doing with that? Like, what are we doing with it? If you don't like something, that's fair. What now?
Yeah, where do we go from that?
Where do we go from here? Or are we just going to talk about how much we don't like stuff?
Yeah.
I'm not here for that kind. When I open my phone or my laptop, I want to be entertained. Yeah. I want to be inspired. I want to learn something. I want to grow. Yeah. I want to leave feeling better than I did when I started. I don't want to leave feeling worse.
Yeah, and I actually love TikTok, and I think
Me too.
You've talked about how you're growing more on TikTok and like trying to jump in over these past few years. That's something I'm so weary of. If someone sends me a TikTok and it's not what I want in my algorithm, I'm like, I'm not gonna like this. If I notice right away I don't want this, I'm not gonna watch the whole thing.
Yeah, because TikTok's algorithm is very fine tuned. It will send you more.
Yeah, and
I like the picture of a bird, a parrot talking to its owner, and like the next day, bare bird content.
Yup. It's real like that. And so I try to do that on purposeful in the other way, where I see something that's funny or a joke, I'm like, okay,
give me more, give me more.
Share.
Yeah.
So I'm with you. It's like, I really want my content to at least be positive, and I want to see positive things as well. This one, I'm excited to see what you had to say about this question, because this is kind of a tell, I think, for a lot of people. Now, they say the top 5 people in your life help make you who you are.
Okay.
Now, your 5 can be a 2 or it can be a 10, but who are the people in your life who help make you you?
Number 1 for sure is my daughter. I consider her my boss. She's the reason why I do everything, because I want to make sure that she's good, and I want her to look to me as somebody that she can look up to and be proud of and be inspired by.
Mm-hmm.
And what we were speaking about before is like, with each generation, we're supposed to be moving forward.
Yep.
I want her to be able to like stand on what I build and keep going from there.
Mm-hmm.
So super important.
And so you're ending it right there. That's the whole 5. Is this your daughter?
No, that's number 1.
Okay.
That's number 1.
Oh, that's a great 5.
I mean, literally the most important.
Top 2, not 2.
Yeah, I would say my mom. My dad's not here anymore, but you know what? I'm putting him in.
Yeah.
My dad. He's my musical inspiration and taught me everything about being a man. And I think about him every day, and in most things that I do, I feel him moving through me. And I know that he was like my biggest fan also.
Oh, I love that.
So like, I know that every time I do anything awesome, I'm like, you saw that, right?
Yeah.
And I feel him. I feel like, yeah, go. You know what I mean? So there's that. My mom, who's the sweetest, most supportive, didn't get it at first, but is like my biggest cheerleader now. I remember when I told her, I posted actually, when I told her I got nominated for a Juno Award, I didn't think she even knew what it was. And she was more excited than I was.
Oh, wow. I
So
love that.
And she's always telling me, you know, with any celebrity that I'm around or whatever, she's like, yo, bring them to the house, I'll cook.
I love that.
I was like, my mom lives in Oshawa, I'm not bringing them to the house.
No. Not gonna go down
but
like that.
thank you, I appreciate the sentiment.
Yes.
Yeah, who else would I say? Like, I would say beyond that, I would put together, I would say my team. Not a person. It's like a collective of people. And they help make everything that's in my brain and in my heart materialize into the real world. And that is super important and humbling to me that they spend their time and their energy, because time is the most important resource we have.
Facts.
You can't buy time. Richest people in the world cannot buy time. And they choose to spend their time working with me on my dreams because they believe in me and what it is that we can create together. And that is incredible to me.
Yeah, that's priceless.
Yeah,
priceless.
It's so important to have good people around. And you know, there's been people that have come in and out of the fold, but like the foundation is there and it's strong, and I love them like family.
Yeah, I always like this question because there's that quote that says, you want to change your habits, change your habitat. And this is, I think, is an example of that. When you think about the friends who are around you, I thought about it myself, and I said, my friend is always broke and I'm always broke. What's going on here?
What are we doing wrong?
You know what I mean? And I think about this group of friends, and they always got money. So you know, so it is like the people around you are gonna impact you.
Absolutely.
Regardless.
They say that you're the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with.
Yep. And so that I've always thought about, because I think that not everyone has a good 5.
No.
And sometimes you may only have 2 people who you feel
and that's okay.
And if that's the case, link with those 2.
Yeah, pour into them and let them pour into you. Just like, and grow. And grow and like
exactly.
move in the right direction. And I found that, we talked about motion before. Found that when you have motion, people will come around.
100%.
So
100%.
You just have to get good at understanding people's intentions.
Yes.
And seeing who's there for the right reasons. Yes. And do your best to figure out who will still be there if the motion is not what it is right now.
100%. I think that for some people that's hard to decipher.
It is.
But it takes time.
And some people are very good at pretending.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm not going to name names,
yeah,
but you're
but
absolutely right.
But it happens. But as you know what I mean? as the great Nipsey Hussle said, it's a marathon. So
100%.
I said that too, actually. Me and Connor Price have a song called Marathon.
Yes.
It's a marathon. It's not 100 meters. You got to look at things long term and understand that something not going well in the short term does not change the course.
Yeah. I think as well that the idea of comparison is something that really, it really, really hurts people. And I looked at this, one of my old journals, because I'm a big journaler, big meditator. And I looked at some of my old journals and all the things that I wanted. And I had a list of things, maybe 9 out of 10 of the things I had done.
Beautiful.
And the next journal entry was me saying all the things that I wanted. And at the time, those things seemed so far. And I could tell by reading back my journal, like, Adriel, how are you going to accomplish this? And then reading it now as I've done those things, I said, it's crazy to think that you thought that you couldn't do what you did.
You should always understand that you can do anything. It's just going to take the work that it takes to get there.
100%.
But also, I want to ask you this to that, because I journal as well. How are there things that you wrote down that you wanted that you look at now and you be like, yo, I don't even want that anymore? I'm a different person. I'm a different version of myself.
I almost hate that you asked me this, because the answer to that is some of the women that I wanted.
Yeah.
That's actually the answer.
Absolutely.
Of me journaling about a certain woman and being like, I wanted her bad.
Yep.
That was...
Yep. Or a certain type of woman, or like just certain things. For me, that's a big one, because I continue to evolve and I'm like intentionally working, therapy, all these things to better, I call it better me.
Yes.
I always want to be a better me. And I look back even like a year or 2 years, and I'm like, yo, what I thought was important, what I wanted, what I spent my energy on, now I'm like, I'm not even interested in those things anymore. Like, what was I thinking? That version of me is gone. I'm here now. And I understand that even when I'm here, like a few years from now, there's probably things that right now that I hold high in regard that I'm like, I'm not going to be into anymore. And, as it should be.
And it's like, being proud of yourself in the sense of that progress that you've made.
Absolutely.
I didn't want to ask you about therapy, because I liked that you have talked so openly about it. Is it going to be coming up to close to 2 years now of doing therapy?
It's just past 2 years. Yeah, 2 years. It was 2 years in December.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Congrats on 2 years. This quote that, I think it was you said this, you and the person versus a problem, not versus each other.
Yes.
Talk about that, because I think that's something that people have heard before but don't remember enough.
Well, here's what I've learned as far as this is regarding conflict.
Yes.
One, I don't argue with anybody anymore. Ever. There's no argument. There's no arguments. We can have disagreements, but that's because we're going to have difference of opinion. We're different humans. But an argument is a fight. It's a battle.
Yes.
I'm not battling anybody on anything.
No.
It's either I care about you, so we're going to talk this out, and it's you and me versus the problem. Like, we're not against each other. It's like, what is the problem that we have right now? All right, let's work together to solve that problem.
Yeah.
Versus I'm trying to win or you're trying to win. There's no winners in that.
Yeah.
Right? And if you're not somebody that I hold dear, then we don't even need to have a conversation. It's already done.
Yeah, it's washed.
It's washed. So that's what I mean when I say no arguments. And like you and me versus the problem is, if I hold you as somebody dear and I want you around in my life, you're my brethren, you're my significant other, you're a family member, whatever, and I care, why am I fighting you anyway?
No point.
Why would I ever want to fight you? It's like, nah, we have some kind of disagreement. All right, what's the disagreement? Let's both look at the disagreement and figure out how we can fix that. That's how we can solve that, how we can move past it, even if it is on some agree to disagree and just like put it to rest.
We'll never agree, but we're still going to be cool.
Right, because I care about our relationship more than I care about winning.
Yeah. I'm happy you mentioned that, because that's one thing I think that when we talked about the top 5 people in your life, that's a sign when someone might not be right for you, is they're trying to win an argument or win whatever it is.
I've had that, and people who breed conflict, I don't need those people around. I don't want conflict. I want harmony. I want peace. I don't want problems.
Peace, please. Problems, always. Violence, always. What would you say is a thing that you'll always take with you from your time in therapy? Like, is there something that kind of stands out that you're like, thank God I went to therapy and learned this thing?
The number one thing, and it was something that my therapist showed me a flex of very early on, and I think it's the basis of everything that's been helpful in therapy that I've been able to take into the world. Be kind to yourself.
Oh, I like that. I like that.
Like, it sounds simple, but when you think about it, most of us are so hard on ourselves.
Facts.
You know, the negative talk to yourself, your inner voice, you know, what you're saying before, how am I going to, I can't do those things. Like, even down to simply checking in with yourself on a constant basis throughout a day. Yo, what do I need right now? Am I thirsty? Am I hungry?
Yep.
Like, am I tired? All of those things. It's just like at the core, being kind to myself and like being mindful of that has allowed me to, number one, live better because I'm taken care of by the person who should be taking care of me, is me.
Yes.
Nobody owes me anything. It's on me. So I'm taking care of me. And number two, it's also made me, by default, much more empathetic.
Yeah.
Because I'm more in tune with who I am as a person and why I am who I am. And therefore, when I interact with people and I see people move, I immediately think, I wonder why they're like that. I wonder what happened. I wonder if they're having a bad day or if they've had some trauma or like, because how you act and react to something generally has not a lot to do with me, if any at all.
100%.
You know, if I cheese you somehow and you go off and I'm like, what happened?
Yeah.
That is something that you're bringing with you that has caused you to be triggered by something that I said or did that has made you blow your top.
Above my pay grade.
Right? And it's not my responsibility to fix that for you.
100%.
But I can be empathetic and, you know, do my best to understand. And that's why when people are explaining to each other, you're my triggers, it's like, I can do my best to not do the things that I know set you off because you have some kind of trauma that is connected to that you're working on. If you're working, I hope you're working on it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? If you're not working on it, I've by default also become a lot of people's therapist, which I don't like because I'm not qualified, nor do I get paid to do that.
Amateur therapist.
Right? But like, I heard somebody say recently, it's like, I go to therapy to be able to deal with people who don't go to therapy.
Ow. You're not wrong.
And I was like, shit, that's me.
Yeah, living it.
That's me. But yeah, it's be kind to yourself, man.
So
in every sense.
You can't use that one for Wednesday Wisdom.
Okay.
But I like be kind to yourself the most because I think that that's something that you put on the back burner.
We do.
And so it's like,
and we shouldn't.
Most of the time you have, okay, be kind to others. Do this. And be kind to yourself is like way below. When if you do that first, it's easy to do the rest.
Well, you know, on the airplanes when they're like, yo, put on your mask before you help anybody else, it's like you're of no service to anybody if you're not at your best. Is the basis of what he showed me. It's like, you got to be good to be able to be of service to others. If you're not good, how can you help anybody?
I had an eye-opening moment with that. I was hanging with one of my exes and some of her friends. And I'm a super calm guy. People have known me for like decades. I've never seen me raise my voice. Like, I just don't believe in raising my voice. So they were like, does Adriel get mean or angry? Do you ever piss him off? And she goes, he really only gets mad at Adriel. And I was like, wow. And she was right. But I was kind of like, I don't really love that.
Oh, no.
And so it's like, I'm being nice to all y'all.
At your own expense, essentially.
You know, so that was a moment when I was like, okay. I gotta
evaluate.
Address that. Yeah. So I know that can be like, be kind to yourself. It's like something you have to do.
It's not in a selfish way. It's just in it's in a better way. Like, how can you be any good to anybody else if you're not good yourself?
100%. So this question is something that I feel like is imperative to this show. Now, when someone gets $100 million, they get an exotic animal. I don't make the rules. This is just what happens. Michael Jackson with his monkey, Mike Tyson with his tiger, Justin Bieber with his monkey. So when you get to that $100 million level, what animal are you bringing into your life?
Well, I won't be doing that, but hypothetically, for this sake of this question, I would get... It's going to sound basic. I'm okay with it because I've always loved these way before the movies and the character. A Black Panther.
Okay.
I would love, I've always been obsessed with panthers. I love big cats.
Yeah.
I don't like cats.
But big cats.
But big cats, I've always been obsessed with leopards and lions and tigers. Tigers are incredible too.
Yeah.
Tigers are dope.
Yeah.
But like just the sleekness of a Black Panther just like creeping just has always been like, yo, that is
It's a vibe.
dope. A big enough one that I could like ride it would be sick.
That would be crazy.
Like, you know, you're like He-Man,
yeah.
Battle Cat. Like put a saddle on a
You
Black
want a Black
Panther?
Panther? That's an album cover, fam.
Imagine a giant Black Panther, as big as like a horse.
Yeah, like big enough to ride. Yeah.
And I just have like, you know, like a silver saddle. I feel like I'm describing like some kind of reverse Bizarro Beyonce right now.
I was gonna say cowboy corners.
You know what I mean? But like that would be incredible to me.
Yeah,
but I don't want it if it's not big enough that I can't ride it. Like why?
Yeah.
I don't need to just be like, look at my Panther. I need to be able to like
interact,
saddle up and ride out.
Yeah, I think
pull up on people. Be like, yo, I'll be there in 5 minutes and pull up on a Panther.
Picturing that actually such a big vibe, and it's because $100 million, you got all the space in the world.
Oh yeah,
you know, this animal is not captive in the traditional sense.
Nope.
You have a whole bunch of acres. They can run free. And picturing you on a Panther just riding around.
And I would have just like a whistle on my chain that I was like, only, this is how we communicate. Only he can hear it. I'd just be like,
oh my God.
It's giving
Tiger King.
It pulls up. And because my house is going to be amazing, I'm going to like press the button, the wall opens. I'm just going to like fall backwards, flip, and land on the tiger. I said tiger. Sorry, Panther. Panther.
Come on.
I was talking about tigers before. I love tigers too. His friends will be tigers. But the Panther. And then we ride out.
Yeah, and you're
next time I come to the podcast, I'm coming on my Panther.
And you're Batman from your Batman house.
Yeah, exactly. There's something opens, and it's just me pulling out.
Yeah,
riding.
Chris, I don't know if you remember this, but I think Omega Mighty said a Black Panther as well.
Did
that
she?
sound familiar? Yeah.
Amazing.
So I think
that's my sis right there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
There's just some synergy there.
Did she wish she's gonna be like?
No. She's just there for the vibes.
Okay.
You're the one who's really taking on the world like Tarzan style.
I'm on tour with the Panther. The Panther's coming on the jet. Everything.
I'm screaming. Yeah, you're putting fear into people's hearts.
Yeah, I'm not traveling by any means that my Panther's not involved.
Oh my goodness. Police escorts for the Panther?
Exactly.
100%.
Absolutely. You see me, you see him. That's it. That's us. My boy right there.
just as famous as you are, like how a dog had this on Instagram.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Hell yeah.
Oh my God, I like that.
On TikTok, everything, YouTube channel.
Oh my goodness. Okay, now we've given you all of your own quotes that you cannot use for this one. Okay.
Yes.
We have this segment on the radio show called Wednesday Wisdom. Looking for a motivational quote or saying that either you remind yourself of or the people around you. So what's that one for you?
I got a good one, and I have it tatted on my knuckles. Live loud.
Oh, I like that.
Can you see that? Live loud. Live unapologetically. Be you all the way, all the time. Never dim yourself for other people.
I think this is a great way to end episode 100.
Episode 100.
Yes. Episode 100. I think Live Loud is basically a theme of this podcast, a theme of this show. I always encourage people to love themselves as much as they have ever loved anybody else. And how I say it is this, is like if there was a scale of love, you should always be at the top. You should always be at the top. Be
kind to yourself. It's all the same thing, bro. It is.
And I think Live Loud is an extension of that, because I think that there's a lot of judging you do to yourself that prevents you from living loud before you even get there.
And fear of judgment from others.
And it's like my brother has some things that he said to me that he's like worried about because he's trying to get more into hosting on Instagram and everything. And I said, has anyone ever said this to you before? And he's like, no. I was like, so you're worried about something you've never heard anyone say that you think they're going to say that you won't know if they say because you don't know that person.
And even if they did say it, what changes in your life?
Who cares? You know, so I love that we're ending
loud
with Live Loud. One last time before we get out of here, please show the people the ice cream that you finished.
Oh yeah, I finished this like 40 minutes ago.
Yeah, this is like a season 3 record.
Done. It was delicious, by the way. Big up Eva.
Yeah, big up Eva's on Bloor Street. All my people in Toronto, please check out Eva's original chimneys. Of course, you made it to the end of the podcast. You know what to do. Leave us a rating and a review, 5 stars, not a single star less. Of course, find us on Instagram at The Cool Table Live, on YouTube at The Cool Table Live. And you can listen to the radio show every Wednesday at 11 a.m. on CJTM Met Radio in Toronto. And until next time, know yourself, know your worth.